Eric, a billionaire trader, hops in a limousine to go get a haircut.
I'm losing money by the ton, hundreds of millions.
But a visit from the president causes a traffic nightmare, trapping Eric.
Any special reason we're in the car instead of the office?
What makes you think we're in the car instead of the office?
Eric, believing his life is in danger, tries to escape the turmoil in Cosmopolis.
Hi, thank you for joining us. I'm Liz.
I'm Sean.
Salim.
And we're here to discuss Cosmopolis, the new film directed by David Cronenberg, based on the novel written by Don DeLillo.
This movie doesn't make any sense. It's freaking weird. It doesn't make any sense. And somehow I have to admit I was still fascinated by it. It completely defies all expectations of movie conventions entirely. And I had a great deal of admiration for it just doing that.
I feel lame that I am not the one who likes this movie. I feel so lame that I hate this movie so much.
I like this movie so much, I'm drinking pink.
Okay, all I know is that going into this movie, I heard that it was 70% inside of a limo. And I was like, oh, that sounds like it might be cool. And then you watch it, it's 70% inside of a limo. 30 minutes into the movie, I have no clue what is happening.
The premise is really, I want to go across town in my limo to get a haircut.
But there's a lot of traffic,
Right.
unfortunately.
But there are interesting themes that the film starts to explore, like the idea that the character of Eric Packer, played by Patz, is constantly needing stimulation. Like when he's having a rectal exam, he's getting like a certain level of pleasure out of it that is unexpected. And then, he's constantly engaging in a lot of sexual activity.
He's
and
obsessed with sex.
and violence, confronting people. But the film never really explores that. It just tosses that in there from time to time, which is really interesting, and then never gives you all of it.
I kept asking, why? Why did he do
Yes.
that? Why is he thinking this way? Why is he so soulless?
But I don't know that you can break down the movie in terms of moments as saying, why was that moment just thrown in there? Because it's like, why was this movie thrown in there? I don't
It's
get
a
it.
whole
I mean,
movie
there's
type
people that are throwing rats in the air, and there are people dressing up as rats, and there are random acts of violence that just seem to come out of nowhere, and they're committed for no reason at all.
Well, it seems to be a comment on the Occupy movement.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could say that Pattinson is some sort of...
He's the 1%.
He's the 1%, even
yeah.
though I think he's probably actually the 0.001%. I don't know what group he belongs to. But then you don't really know what's Cronenberg examining, either with the 1% or with the 99%.
What's he trying to say?
Yeah, because
No
everything...
idea.
I knew something was going to happen. I knew some type of revelation, something about the 1%, but it never comes to fruition.
Completely agree. I think that's a great way of saying it.
I mean, certainly it's not his sort of body horror pictures. It's not The Fly, it's not Videodrome, it's not Dead Ringers, but he's sort of gone into, I would say, more mainstream efforts, at least mainstream if Cronenberg can ever be mainstream, with stuff like History of Violence, Eastern Promises, and A Dangerous Method. This, I think, certainly gets back to at least the weird, bizarre Cronenberg that, the 80s brought us.
All right, well, let's talk about the acting a little bit. I actually really liked Robert Pattinson. He is able to bring this quality of being this rich guy who doesn't really understand how him being so rich affects people around him. Very similar to like a Mr. Burns type of character.
I liked him too. I thought he certainly shows that he's better than those Twilight movies. I mean, Cronenberg is sort of known for getting really good performances out of lead actors, Jeff Goldblum and James Woods and Jeremy Irons, and Pattinson isn't in the league of those guys, but I think that I certainly went in this movie going, oh, come on, Robert Pattinson, the Edward Cullen, but I thought he was good.
I think he's fine, but when he's in a scene with Paul Giamatti, and Paul Giamatti's acting the heck out of every single one of his lines, you look at Robert Pattinson, he doesn't get beneath the character. He doesn't get beneath the line.
That's not Pattinson to me. Nothing gets beneath this character. You're completely on the surface of this guy.
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of dramatic elements that you can milk out of this character. I mean, there's a lot of things that he does in this film that could cause him to feel guilt, to cause him to feel any sort of intense emotion. And yet he plays it flat and he plays it soulless. And I don't think that's the interesting choice.
So the rest of the cast is basically just cameos by these actors, Jay Baruchel and Samantha Morton and Paul Giamatti, Juliette Binoche. They just kind of show up for 5 minutes, spout some dialogue in the back of this guy's limo, and then they're gone.
Everything's barely weeks. We have minutes to live.
We don't want to start counting the times, do we? And having solemn discussions on the subject.
No, we want to do it.
I've been harping a lot about this movie. There is one thing that I did like. It did have some very poetic dialogue. Not all the time, because a lot of times it was very long, but there are just these instances of just this quiet beauty because of the dialogue.
You can tell that there was a vision, there was a voice behind everything, and there was a lot of care that was put into the construction of this film. Whereas you look at a lot of other films that are out right now, something like, I don't know, Dare Everyone Be Kid 3, and there's no effort, there's no heart behind that. At least there was a purpose to this film, really, being put together.
And those two have the exact same audience.
Absolutely.
So that's,
I really have no idea what this movie was supposed to be, but still gonna give it a stream it.
I really want to love this movie, but watching it was incredibly uncomfortable. But for those who can't stay away, stream it.
Well, this movie's not for everyone. In fact, I'm not sure it's for anyone. But I was fascinated by a talkative movie that absolutely made no sense. So I'm going to say see it.
Looks like our votes add up to 2 whole tickets, which is a stream it for Cosmopolis.
All right.
Cheers.
I'm going to go get my limo. It's basically the inside of the spaceship from 2001.
Yes, it's
as
exactly
a limo,
the same as
I
that.
think is
yes.
what it is, basically. This movie doesn't make any sense. It's freaking weird. It doesn't make any sense.